Hi, I'm Renee Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome to the Spiritually Wired podcast. My guest today is Palak Dave, and I am so incredibly looking forward to this conversation. Palak is an entrepreneur. She is a speaker and the author of Beautiful Everydays, a guide to living in the here and now. And she's also the founder of In the Room, which is a media and membership platform designed for women who are committed to living their most beautiful and fulfilling lives. I feel like we have so much in common. We speak the same language, and I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I know you and I connected. I saw you on stage. It was at a high vibe event and just immediately felt that connection with you and love your whole just grounded energy and the
Mm,
way in which you share about slowing down. So I thought maybe, how about we start right there? Why this is such an important message for you to share with a world that is definitely not slow these days.
yeah, I think that is exactly why it's such an important message to share. So, I got into this work now, it's been about 10 years. I come from a corporate background, and at the time that I switched to launching my own company, it was a time in my life where I felt like I needed to slow down. I was climbing the corporate ladder, and I eventually just realized that I was looking for deeper fulfillment, and the jobs that I was doing, I didn't feel that I was gaining that fulfillment out of it. And so I started seeking out spaces that would allow me to feel more connected to other parts of me, not just the corporate career part of me that I was kind of chasing. And so that came in the form of doing yoga classes, meditation, like just really reflecting and going inward on what I wanted out of my life. And it was through that sort of pause that I allowed myself to then explore what excites me and what really lights me up and what's the work that I want to do that feels deeply fulfilling. And so it started with me wanting to create spaces for women to feel that, to be able to connect with themselves and one another. And then I decided to leave my corporate job and launch into hosting pop-up events for women. And that first year, I had the goal of doing maybe 10, and I ended up doing 50. And so for me, this really quickly became something that I understood women are craving and seeking and needed access to. And so that was 8 years ago. And now, since then, it's had a bit of a snowball effect and turned into many other things along the way. But that's where it really started.
Mm. You said a word that just resonated with me so much, which is the pause. And
Mm.
how it's incredible how, and sometimes, life forces those pauses. Life happens and we are forced to pause. And sometimes those pauses, happen in a maybe gentler way where we are tuning in and listening and recognizing the need to pause. But it's so incredible what comes from taking those times to just push the pause button and really come back to ourselves. And so is this a practice, the pause? And I know you mentioned meditation. So meditation is so much about, the pause, but is that a practice that you invite into your life very intentionally?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, so much so that a lot of my events were actually themed around this idea of permission to pause. So I actually
Mm.
created a series of events called Permission to Pause because,
Ah,
as much as the pause is important, we don't necessarily give ourselves that permission. And I think it's really essential that women reflect and understand the value of that pause. And for some reason we think we need a permission slip to do it, that there has to be an event that takes place, or for me it was like leaving the corporate world allowed me to take that pause, and then I got married, that allowed me to take another pause. When I started my own business, I paused to reflect on the current friendships I had around me and the women around me, because I was outgrowing some of those friendships. So that was a pause. So throughout my life, I have faced these pauses and I intentionally build them in. And then there's others that have come to me just through life circumstances. And through all of it, the longer the pause, or the more, like, the deeper the pause, the more value I get out of it. And I always come back realizing something about myself, about the way I want to live my life, about the way that I want to go forward in whatever I'm doing, that has been so valuable. And I don't think I would have reached any of those if I hadn't given myself that permission. So I do think that it's really important for us to do that, especially in today's world where everything is moving so fast and we're being fed so much information and
mhm.
content and all the things that we're not even necessarily opting into. So we have to carve out spaces to give ourselves control over what we're actually wanting to surround ourselves with.
Yeah, and it's really learning to celebrate and cherish those pauses, because it's interesting how, because we live in a world that is always like go, 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 and we praise and value productivity, right? The more we can get done. And I know for so many women, we pride ourselves on being able to multitask and do so many different things at once. And so the pause feels actually quite uncomfortable because there's
Yes.
this part of you that's just like you should be doing more, and there's laundry to be done, and there's a list of people that maybe you should be, especially in our homes, right? The projects are endless. So giving yourself, I love how you said, permission to pause and to actually learn to love those pauses, because it takes time.
It does, and it's still something that I practice. This is not something I've perfected at all.
Mhm,
I am
mhm.
somebody who comes from a childhood where productivity and achievement were celebrated and enforced in me. My immigrant parents, I had an amazing childhood, but a lot of it revolved around getting the best grades and pushing myself, taking extracurricular classes and summer school and things that would constantly allow me to excel from an academic standpoint. And so a lot of my adult years have been me reflecting back and realizing that I need to undo a lot of the conditioning that I've been told, that my worth is tied to that productivity and getting, from getting the straight A's to now feeling like I need to overachieve in my business and my work and all parts. Even when I'm hosting a personal event and I'm hosting a dinner, like everything to me needs to be perfect and beautiful and just over the top a little bit. And I think that just comes from that desire to achieve and be productive. So I
Mhm.
definitely am on that journey myself. And it's through consciously choosing to reflect on that I've been able to slowly strip away at pieces and realize that, you can find your worth and your joy and your fulfillment outside of things that are only tied to productivity and achievement. So and that's why I love creating these spaces for women to realize that you can just attend a dinner and nourish yourself and feel fulfilled without needing an absolute outcome at the end of it, other than
Mm,
those things, other than your joy. Like, why does there
mm,
need to be another outcome to everything? So I think
mm,
it's rare that we give ourselves those spaces, and it's rare to even find them, because even when it comes to fitness, it's usually tied to some sort of goal, whether that's I really want to be stronger, leaner, fitter, lose weight, whatever it is. We're rarely doing it just for the sake of moving our bodies and celebrating that. So there's just so much pressure in all the things that we feel. So I think it's so important to try to undo a lot of that and create those spaces. For me, creating those spaces for women has been such a gift to see what unravels when they allow themselves to just be.
mm. Yeah, because it really is the undoing, right? And
Yeah.
like recognizing that there's more in the less, and that is like such a vibe that I get from you, and energy that I get from you is like the coming back to simplicity, to the small important moments. And I love the title of your book, Beautiful Everydays,
Mm,
because we're always, there's this in the productivity based life is we're always searching for what's next and tomorrow and planning next week and next month, and in that process we forget how beautiful today is. So I just love that title. And so can you tell us more about your book and what it's about?
yeah, of course. Thank you so much. That title really was born out of this
Mm,
idea that it doesn't need to be some grandiose event that happens to give ourselves that permission to have that joy day to day. And it started at the beginning of the pandemic. I always knew that I wanted to write a book that really offered people the idea of having experiences at home that they could enjoy, that infuse those moments in their day to day life. And I was hosting so many events prior to the pandemic, and then, of course, we went into times of lockdown where we had to be at home just with ourselves. And the activities that brought us joy were, a lot of people turned to baking or turned to like crafts that they hadn't done in a while. And we were just feeling like we wanted to get to the simplicity and the hobbies. And the irony of the timing of the book was the pandemic gave me the creative freedom to stop and pause from all the overachieving I was doing and just lean into this project where I wanted to give people a tool to infuse that into their day to day life. So, this is really a book where if you are constantly chasing and going and just achieving and looking for the next thing, this is your permission slip to take this book,
mm,
flip through it at any time, go to one of the 30 plus activities in there that are so simple and so beautiful that they will make you feel more present and grounded in your day to day life. And not from a necessarily like a meditation standpoint or anything like that in terms of mindfulness, but they are just joyful activities, rituals, and things that you can infuse into your day to day to give you a little dose of just feeling more fulfilled. And so that's everything from food related activities to things in nature, things around your home. For example, one of the activities in there is brunch in bed, and it's all about how to just turn an average Saturday morning or Sunday morning into this really beautiful brunch that you can enjoy for yourself or with a partner or with your kids, and make it a moment. Like pull out the fancy dishes that you never use because you're too busy saving them for someday, and just have that moment in your everyday life. And through those small acts over time, that will add up to create a beautiful life that I think we're all seeking and wanting.
yes, so important and so true that it's in the small moments when we can actually be present to them, right? And I
Exactly.
know that that's also part of the title of the book is a guide to living in the here and now, because so much of our disconnect is when we are not in the here and now, when we are planning everything out in the future. And I know that a big part of what you talk about, and personally, I can speak to what I find disconnects me is just the overload of just the technology. And,
Yeah.
I'm certainly old enough that I grew up with no technology in that way. And the being in the here and now was so much easier. I mean, yes, we'd watch TV and it was, cartoons on Saturday mornings, and it was very limited, our access. And so our time to just roam and to be free and to be bored and to do nothing with, or to do things with no expectation of there has to be an outcome. It was so much easier. Now, if there's the one thing that I find personally I'm always working on is just the pull of the
Mhm.
technology, of the phone,
Yeah.
of the social media. So what what are ways, how do you help people or start the conversation around the disconnecting to come back to the here and now?
It's such an important conversation and it affects our everyday lives. Me
Hmm.
as well. Again, I'm part of this. I have a cell phone. I'm on social media. I'm
Yeah.
not, out there living in a forest and completely disconnected. And I think the issue is in today's world, there are no really clear boundaries because I do think something like social media is designed where you're either in it or you're not. When you're in it, it's very hard to have that clear boundary because people call it willpower, like, oh, I have the willpower to put my phone away or set a time limit. But how many times have we all ignored that time limit
Hmm.
and kept going because it's designed that way? So I like to follow the rule of, create before you consume. So things that if you're using the platform, for me, it's for work and to spread my message out to people, and that's where people are. So I want to be able to get into these spaces to remind them of the importance of what's off of these spaces, ironically. But I think it's
Yes.
really important to create for yourself if you do want to use these platforms in that way. Create first and then set the boundaries around consuming, because it's really the consuming where it's the endless scrolling. It's the I'm up in bed late at night and I can't fall asleep, or first thing in the morning, I'm grabbing my phone. Those are the moments that make us feel not so good. And it is just such a clutch to have it there. You turn to it. It's so easy in a grocery store line or anywhere you are to pick up your phone. For me, that involves a lot of longer periods of disconnecting. I actually find in order for me to have a bit of a reset and give myself, as you said, the permission to pause, every vacation I take, I try to go completely social media free. So when I'm out of the country, I'm really disconnecting. I'm allowing myself to be immersed in the moment that I'm in, wherever that may be. Recently, I actually was able to take a month-long vacation with my husband. We went to Singapore, Bali, and Australia. And for an entire
Wow.
month, I did not post. I was not on social media. I wasn't consuming actually anything. I even limited my consumption of books that I was reading because I'm so into reading like business books or self-help books. And I
Hmm.
told myself I need to just tune in. And in order to tune in, I have to tune out all the noise. And I had that month of one of the best vacations of my life. And I came back feeling at peace within myself. And you think you have maybe like an aha moment, and it might not come while you're in that space, but for the following weeks after I came back and integrated again, those were the ripple effects that I felt, that suddenly visions for my business became clearer. I launched a new project. I was excited again. My momentum was there. I wasn't as excited to pick up my phone and go and see what, other people are up to all the time because I went a month without needing that. And so for me, I think it's so foreign to hear now when people say they disconnect for that long, but it is such a gift when you can give yourself that space, because you owe that to yourself to like really allow
Hmm.
yourself to discover your inner voice and what it is that you really want out of your life. And I think that only happens when you're fully disconnecting.
Yeah, and even as you said, it's not just social media, like the books that we,
Yeah.
because now so many of us were listening to books as well. Podcasts, of course, I'm a fan of podcasts, and you're going to be launching yours soon too, which is exciting. But so we love all of that. Yet at the same time, if you're always listening to things and receiving, you're consuming it, there's no quiet, there's no space for you to actually listen and tune in to your own inner guidance, your own inner voice, and that requires like that quiet time, and it's quite feels different. It's uncomfortable. That's the reality, right? Because we're so used to the noise around us. A whole month, oh my goodness.
that
I was like having a moment of a whole month. That must have been just incredible.
that was like a life-changing trip, because obviously a
Yeah.
whole month is a lot of time and not everyone can do
Yeah.
that, and I understand. But I'll even do what I love to do is even like a 1 day a month
Mhm.
reset. So I'll like book a spa day and do 1 day no social media. I'm just like completely
Yeah.
disconnected. I'm immersed in like a spa in nature and I just reconnect with myself. So I try and do a spa day every month
Mhm.
actually, which is such a
Mhm.
beautiful way to disconnect.
Mhm.
I try and do 1 day a week of no social media. So on a Sunday or a Saturday, just completely putting my phone away. I can take photos for, things I love, like capturing a meal that I cooked or something like that. But I'm not posting anything and I'm doing that later. Maybe I'll come back to it on a
Mhm.
Monday morning because it's part
Mhm.
of work for me. So
Yeah.
I just think it's really important to carve out those spaces. And we all know, hearing the things about don't put your phone in the bedroom, like sleep with your phone outside your bedroom. Like we kind of know what's good for us, but it's harder in the execution of it. And I think that is just like anything else. Like I was giving the gym example earlier of fitness, and we know it's good for us to move our bodies. It doesn't mean we always want to do it or that we're committing to workouts every day. We know it's good for us to nourish our bodies with, great food from the earth, but we sometimes have days where that's not what we're wanting. So I think this is just like any other good habit that you need to build. And it is such a big part of our day to day lives. So we have to be conscious to it. It isn't as easy anymore as saying, like, oh, yeah, I'll just like set my timer and I'll just stop being on it. It's like, well, no,
Mhm.
that doesn't really work. It's like if someone puts junk food in your house every day and then tells you to never eat it, it would probably
Mhm.
be much harder. Like we have access to these things 24/7. So it's very hard to then expect everyone, teenagers included, kids included, that have phones to then say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, here's this thing that's designed to be addictive, but also don't check it. When you
Mhm.
have those boundaries, it just requires a lot of
Mhm.
human mental capacity to be able to do that. So that's why we all kind of opt to not.
I know it's so easy. And as you said, it's designed to keep you on. Like that's the whole, and it's amazing how you can be you want to send a text to someone and you pick up your phone
Yeah.
to send a text, and it's just this habit of like click on Instagram or whatever, and then I'm like, what was I doing
Why am I
again? Like,
here? Yeah.
why am
Why am
I
I
here?
here?
I didn't come. I'm pretty sure there was a reason. And
Yes.
so incredible how we can easily get sidetracked. And I guess the word that's coming to me as you were talking about it is just the intention, being
Yeah.
intentional with how you're showing up and
Mhm.
where you're putting your energy to. So whether, it's either the phone, the technology has more power than you. So it like comes back to what is my intention behind showing
Exactly.
up on here. Um,
Yeah.
you speak about rituals, and I mean, I'm a big fan of rituals. I just find that they are so powerful in setting up our days and being intentional. So, what are some of your favorite rituals that you do like every day, or maybe you have different, like what are the rituals that support you?
Yeah, I love rituals because I do think they ground us in something deeper than
Mm,
ourselves. And they really
mhm,
anchor us to those moments of our life that matter. And when you look at different cultures too, like a lot of their practices are grounded in ancient rituals and traditions. And that's really what brings people together and also unites them. So I like to look at it both as rituals and traditions, rituals in my day to day life where it's something as small as like I have a glass of lemon water every day and I just know that's the start to my morning and I feel good and my body feels good. Or I take my dog on a long walk with my husband by the boardwalk at the beach, and that's just like a beautiful ritual that we create for ourselves and take that time. Or once a week we'll go and explore a new coffee shop together and walk and go get a croissant and a coffee and have a little afternoon walk. So things like that. Even working for myself now, I love taking a Monday morning for myself where, because I have the choice, I can decide what my Monday morning looks like. So instead of
mm,
diving into work at like 8 a.m., I actually block off my calendar till about 11 a.m. So I get to choose what I want to do with my Monday morning
mm,
because it feels like my time. And I gift that to myself because
mm,
I chose to work for myself. And so that's a beautiful ritual that I have. But then when it comes to deeper things like community based rituals or traditions, I also love the act of annual things or regular things on the calendar that allow you to deepen your relationships with the
mm,
people around you. So one of the things that I started doing was a cookbook club where I gathered like three of my girlfriends and I said, each of you invite another friend that I don't know, and let's start to cook every month out of a different cookbook. And we gather for this beautiful family style meal. So I did cookbook club for like five
oh, I
years until
love
I
that.
Yeah, it was so great. We picked different recipes and different chefs that we highlighted, and we just came together for a simple meal. And it was something we looked forward to every single month. We made time for it. So that was beautiful. And I also have like a hidden gems group with a girlfriend of mine, her and her husband, and me and my husband. We do a double date every month, and we each rotate picking a new restaurant. So we don't know what restaurant it will be that we're going to. So it's almost like unveiling this hidden gem that we've discovered. And it's just something fun to look forward to each month. And it becomes, we have a group chat called Hidden Gems now, and we're always like planning the next Hidden Gems dinner. And I think these are the things that get you excited about life. They don't need to be fancy, they don't need to be complicated. It's just about gathering and connecting with the people around you so that you therefore feel more connected to yourself and to your life. So I love a good ritual or tradition. We even host an annual holiday drop-in party, and that's something we've been doing for 3 years. And now all of my friends send me messages in like October being like, when's your drop-in party happening? I got to make sure I save it on the calendar. And it's just such a nice way to like celebrate the end of the year with my community.
Oh, I love that. And I love how it's creative and yet it's simple. A cookbook club,
Exactly.
that's genius because I mean, we all hear of like book clubs, right? Book clubs are popular, they're
Yes.
easy, you come together. Most people don't want to even talk about the book. It's really about the glass of wine and the
The
conversation. There's
gathering and the
nothing
wine.
wrong with that. It's
Yes.
great. But there's different ways. You're just making me think about so many different ways to come together. And there's something about cooking too, where you have like you're doing something and you're creating something together, which is so, you know, so beautiful. And I was just recently actually at like in an immersion for a part of a course that I'm doing. And we were together in person for a week and we had this incredible chef come and it was all, healthy. And she was cooking for
Mm,
us. And we are just saying how as women, there is and not to say that men don't appreciate cooking, but we just appreciate it in a different way because
yeah.
you're not just appreciating the food, it's the act of creating the food and all that goes into it. So what a beautiful experience to share. How often do you do that? We don't do that. We've become so isolated. And even
Yeah.
more so after the pandemic, which I know has been such a big part of your mission, is to bring women back together in person,
Yeah.
sharing these experiences. So, can you tell us about it's called In the Room?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So, In the Room is really a culmination of the 8 years I spent hosting events and pop up events for women. And one thing that I noticed was we do want to stay connected in between the events. Like, it's lovely to go to a dinner, but then you usually end up forming a friendship or a connection that you want to deepen and you want to keep in touch with people. And so, I really thought that this combination of women craving deep connections and women craving real life experiences, when you pair those two together, the magic happens when you're just present in the rooms you're in. And it's
Hmm.
usually around a table or it's around some beautiful experience that you're sharing. And so I turned the events into a membership community. So In the Room is essentially your all access pass to the best experiences around food and well being and social well being that you can have with women that are all craving the same. And it's women in their 30s and 40s that may have outgrown their friendships. They're looking for new women to connect with. They're looking for
Hmm.
spaces where they can literally just show up and be and feel nurtured and taken care of. So as part of that, I host my signature events that I've been doing for years. I've done over 400 events now. So I host my signature events. We do beautiful dinners. I'll bring in a chef. We have brunches. We do wellness classes. But then also the women get to post things that they love within our private hub. So it's off social media, it's in its own space. They can post things like, hey, I'm hosting a coffee meetup, or who wants to come to my house this weekend to do a book club or something like that,
Hmm.
because we just want spaces to gather. And I honestly don't think that there's any platform out there where it is dedicated to that. And it's women that are craving this. And so it's been really beautiful growing this community over the past year. And next year, we're really focused on bringing even more exclusive experiences and conversations and panels and things with thought leaders and chefs and people that are just doing visionary things that we all want to hear from. So all the women
Mm.
in there are really connecting over these real life experiences. And so we're moving those connections from online to offline. And that is what's so beautiful about it.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, women are definitely craving deeper connections. And there is, the, when you think of the majority of the events that we see out there, oftentimes there's like a networking component. I'm all for networking. I don't have anything like I'm not against it. I've been a part of different networking groups. I love supporting other women in business, learning about them, but there's a different feel to them where, it's not like deeper connections doesn't mean like passing your business card and telling other people like it there's a different intention. So I love like what you're creating. There's not a lot of those events where you can go and know there's no, as you said earlier, there's no other outcome. It's not about like what am I going to get from this. What you're getting is the connections. It's being with other women. If you happen to meet someone who you can partner with or do amazing, but it's not the purpose.
I love that you brought that up because
Mhm.
that is the biggest differentiator. And I have been to hundreds, maybe thousands of events in my life because as someone who hosts, I also love to attend and be a guest at other events. And I love seeing like the ample amounts of networking events that are out there for women in business and the ones where you get to learn and really absorb all those learnings and integrate them. And I think that's so great. But as you said, it still
Mhm.
ties to us being productive. There's still something about, well, I'm willing to join this membership or this community because it allows me to feel productive and it's going to benefit my business directly or my job directly. Whereas I'm like, why aren't we giving ourselves spaces where we can connect with other women? And the only goal is to find joy, have connection, enjoy a real life
Mhm.
experience. And then, as you said, once you build those relationships, ironically, women, once they connect, there is so much that can come from that. That's a ripple
Mhm.
effect because it's women that build the friendships and the relationships first that eventually they literally can find their next business partner through that. They can find their next collaboration, their next podcast guest, like whatever it is. You're finding that literally through the connection first. And it's not, there's no agenda, but what's
Mm.
beautiful is then you're allowing it to unfold. And I think with my community, what's been really interesting is I get a lot of questions from women around, well, what's the exact tangible thing I'm getting? And I think it's because women don't think they deserve to spend money on something that doesn't have that
Yeah.
clear, like, productivity or achievement outcome. And I'm like, this is, you're getting everything. You're getting everything that you
Mhm.
need in life. All the things that you're seeking are what you will
Mhm.
find as part of being in the room just by simply being you and showing up. And I think that's worth more than any membership or platform or networking event can give you.
Absolutely. It's the depth of connection with people. And,
Exactly.
maybe not everyone is looking for that, but when you can find that space where you can be yourself and you fully hit it when you said no agenda. I think that that's the key because you feel it. There's a disconnect, disingenuine energy when there is an agenda to a certain extent.
Totally.
And
Exactly.
right? You can't be yourself fully because you're like, is there something that is expected of me? Or maybe I need to show up a certain way. So now we've got our social masks on or our business masks on, and we're showing up completely differently.
Totally. And when
Hmm.
I host the events I do, the one word I love to use is like the authenticity around showing up as who you are. And I think a lot of these words are now used very loosely, like community, connection, authenticity, meaning, intentionality. All of these are words that I've been infusing into my business for almost 10 years now. So I do have that consistency where I show up that way and I want the people in the room to show up that way as well. But I do think it's so different when you're telling a woman you can come as you are and everyone around you is in the same boat, that you don't have to put on a mask and you don't have to perform or kind of highlight only your experience and make yourself feel like this is a performative thing. Whereas what I've seen at my
Mm.
events, what's really beautiful is I'll do a dinner and suddenly I'm turning around and women are, talking about their fertility struggles, or they're talking about how their business seems like it's going well, but it's actually something they're really struggling with, or that in this phase of life, they feel like they can't connect to anybody around them. So they're so happy to be at the dinner. And I think it's the life conversations is what connects us as humans, because that's how we're meant to connect. And everything else is a cherry on top and a bonus that comes out of that.
Absolutely. And what I'm loving about our conversation, so your events are in the Toronto area, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so we have some listeners that may not be local to Toronto, but there is what you're giving us is so much also creative ideas and the reminder that you can create spaces like if those spaces, if you can't find them, and you've created this beautiful, space for women in our area, but if you're somewhere, if you can't find it, you can create those spaces. And if it looks like a cookbook club with your, a few of your closest friends, but coming back together and to be actually in person without the agenda, with no purpose other than to be together and
Hmm.
to, enjoy the moment. Wow. It's so simple. Like
Yeah.
why does it feel so hard? It's so interesting, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm loving how you're saying this with this conversation, because we overcomplicate it and it is so simple.
Hmm.
It is just as simple as that. It's like gather, connect, be present, be in the room. That's why I call it in the room. It's like it
Hmm.
literally just requires you to show up and be there. And to your point about, whether you're in Toronto or you're outside of Toronto, my membership really is centered around people also empowering them to find that connection themselves in the
Hmm.
communities that they're in. So there's events shared that are outside of Ontario as well. We have members across Canada, but it is really interesting because it is bringing back that empowerment that even hosting, for example, it doesn't need to be complicated. It could be like popping some popcorn and inviting three girlfriends over and watching a movie together. And that suddenly
Hmm.
means opening up your home and inviting connection back in. So I always, through the community, remind women and empower them and give them the tools they need to feel that they can create real life community within whatever city they're in as well.
Yeah, and you get to do it your way. I remember like last year around the holidays, um, there's a group of friends that we will get together, and I wanted to have them over because I didn't, I had the house to myself, my husband, my kids, no one was home, but I did not feel like I was coming off of a season of being like busy and tired. And I'm like, I want to have my friends, and I also don't feel like hosting. Like, I don't have the energy to cook. So I'm like, hey, how do you feel about coming in your PJs and
Yes.
literally, like, just like, I don't know, we can watch a movie, we can put some music on, and let's all like bring our favorite snacks. And it was so nice. And I
Oh,
thought,
I
oh, that
love
was easy,
that.
but it just like it took a moment. It took a moment to be like, is this socially acceptable to
It
tell
is. It
people,
is
can
so
you come
really
over, but
acceptable.
I'm really not going to be cooking or hosting.
You know,
FYI. I mean, I'm
I love
hosting,
that.
but in a simple way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so interesting about the world we live in today, that we have this sort of, we're in the middle of seeing the Pinterest boards of fancy dinners and the gorgeous tablescapes and the meals that we have to cook from scratch. And then there's the other side of it, like, oh gosh, my house is a mess. I don't want to
Yeah.
invite anyone in. I don't have the energy. I've had a full week. So it's finding that balance of what can happen in the middle. It doesn't need to be the extreme. If you love to cook and you love a beautiful tablescape, then great. That's great. You
Hmm.
can host dinners and it's fun for you. But for a lot of people, it's not, and it's not
Hmm.
accessible, and they don't feel that it's something that comes with ease. And so I love that you did that, because the examples I share around that always have to do with hosting on your own terms. It's like I actually say
Yeah.
hosting isn't about perfection, it's about connection. So it
Mm.
doesn't actually matter what you're doing. It's about the fact that you're opening your door to let
Hmm.
people in the room with you and saying, hey, I just value this relationship so much that I want to spend time with you. And that can look like a million different things. And so I think we got to get it out of our heads that it needs to be perfect, because the memories made are from the nights of true connection. And that's what we'll remember. We will not remember every detail of like what florals you picked on the tablescape, as beautiful
Yeah.
as that can be.
Yeah. And it gets to be all of it. Like there's times when I do want to host and
Yeah.
pick the table and set it and try a new recipe, and that can be fun if you're enjoying the experience of it. I find it's like when you're doing it because you feel like you have to do it a certain way. And I mean, I certainly grew up, my mom's an incredible cook. She would do the crêpe Suzette, right? I'm French, and so the big flambe of crepes, and have people like it. I did grow up with, there was a certain thing when you hosted people, and I love that, and permission to do it your way sometimes, and to also like check in with what's my energy at, and what do I want more. And what I wanted more than anything is to just be with people that I know and love, and can put that mask off and just fully be myself. And that gets to be whatever it is. And the cool thing is when you do that, it gives other people permission to be like, oh yeah,
Exactly.
I can do it that way too.
Yeah, exactly. We're all just, we're trying our best. We're trying our best when it comes to work and life and family and relationships and all the things. So instead of making things harder on ourselves, where everything then feels like it's work and it's more tiring for us and it's depleting us, we need to find the ways that we can energize ourselves and fill our cups. And so really evaluating where you're at realistically and what you're capable of in that moment. And that can shift, just like you said, we can do it all. We can decide what we want in the moment that is in front of us. We don't have to commit and say, well, if I'm going to host one fancy dinner, it always needs to be a fancy dinner.
Hmm.
That's not true. So I think giving ourselves that permission again to
Yeah.
allow it to be what it needs to be is really the solution to a lot of the things that we talk ourselves out of.
Yeah, it's like permission to pause and permission to do it your way.
Exactly.
You're giving
Exactly.
us a lot of permission. I love it. Permission to be in the moment,
Yes.
to enjoy the beauty of this moment. Oh, I
Yeah.
just, yeah, I love again, it's like this real, genuine, grounded, simple, uh, just coming back to the essence of who we are, and letting go of all of the shoulds and how it should be, and the performative way of all the expectations that we put on ourselves, basically, and just allowing ourselves to be who we are and let other people see that. And so much power in that.
So much. And when we show up in that way, like everything in our life gets better, literally.
Mm.
So we just need to
Mhm.
tune back into that. So we need to put ourselves in the spaces that allow us to do that. We need to align our plans and the things we do that allow us to be that person. And so it's just really interesting because it takes some work to get back to the core of really who we are meant to be.
Mhm. I would love to ask you as well, because I know how much you value presence and being just in the moment, all of this, which is personally ties into what spirituality means in my world. So I'm just curious what the role that spirituality plays in your life. And yeah, I would love to just hear your perspective.
Yeah, I love this question. Funny enough, my name actually means moment. So Palak means
Mm.
in the blink of an eye, and I was born pretty quickly. And my parents were going to name me another name. They were going to name me Anna, and then my aunt was in the room with my mom, and she's like, she was born so quickly. Why don't you name her Palak? That means in the blink of an eye, in a moment. And so it's funny because I think
Wow.
I've always remembered that. And it's so funny that it's tied to my work now, where that's really all we have is the moment in front of us. And I think for me, spirituality, like I'm a very spiritual person. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a religious person. I'm a spiritual person where I believe in a higher power. I very much believe in the universe aligning to things that you want if you put the energy out there. So what the energy that you're putting out there is what you're going to get back. There's been so many beautiful moments in my life where I will just allow myself to be open and present to like literally the miracles that can happen. And then they've
Mhm.
happened, whether that's meeting the right person at the right time, getting an email that suddenly puts me into a position where I feel so aligned to my work. All of that has been done by really just allowing myself to be grateful. Like, number one for me is like
Mm.
gratitude. I've really realized that you cannot ask for more from the universe if you're not grateful for what you already have. And so really looking at that mentality of I am in the gains of my life. I'm thinking of where have I gained? I'm trying not to focus on the gaps of my life. There's literally a book about gaps
Yeah.
versus gains that's really good by Benjamin Hardy. So
Yeah.
I recommend that. But yeah, I'm really into thinking about that. And from that place of gratitude, being so grateful for what I have, and then thinking of what I want my future to be like. And I spend a lot of time meditating, journaling. I do practice it, like even just like a yoga practice at night or in the morning. Sometimes I'll listen to affirmations where I'm just like allowing myself to be in a positive energy, listen to a lot of music that just has no lyrics and puts me in a zone where I just feel really deeply connected to myself and my environment. So yeah, I think spirituality for me is weaved into my everyday life. And
Mm.
it's such a beautiful reminder that like this world is bigger than all of us. And so sometimes when things are seemingly, not going well, you can just like look out your window and think, the universe is so expansive. Like really this is so much bigger than just me. And so it helps you kind of put things into perspective that way too.
Oh, I love it. I've got a big smile. My cheeks are hurting. I love
Oh,
listening to people share about the what it means to them, because I find that we, again, it's another area we can overcomplicate when it
yeah.
really comes down to like there is spirituality in just this moment and gratitude. Yes, so beautiful to weave in how important gratitude is in the moment. And I am so grateful for you for taking the time to be with us. I feel like I could just keep talking, and I love your energy. I always come down to energy, and I just love your energy, the way that I feel when I'm in your presence. So
Oh,
thank you for being with us and sharing
that's
that
so
energy.
sweet. Thank you so much. I love having these conversations and I
Hmm.
could talk about this for hours too. So I so appreciate you giving me the space
Yeah.
to be about this.
Well, and I love that we're now friends. We're now
I know,
connected
I love it.
officially. It's so cool.
So great.
So,
So,
what is the best way for people to reach you? So, if I know there's people listening and they're like, I want to be part of her world, what is the best way to be connected with you?
well, you can find on my websites all my everything that I'm up to, and the people I'm interviewing to the experiences I'm having to my membership details, my book. That's palakdave.com. You can also find me on Instagram at paldave, PALDAVE, and I love social media for the connection. So I do respond to all my DMs, and I'm in there. If you have any questions or want to get in touch, then please send me a message. And you can find my book, Beautiful Everydays, at Indigo or on Amazon.
Amazing, beautiful. We're going to link all of that in the show notes. And once again, just thank you for being with us today and sharing all of your goodness. And I do want to remind you all that you are always spiritually wired for love, for success, for peace, for abundance, for presence and connection.
Mhm.
We'll see you next
Love.
time. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.